The massive ship came out of nowhere. One moment the sky above Seoul was clear and blue. The next moment, something the size of a small city blocked out the sun. It did not fall. It did not crash. It simply appeared, floating above the clouds like it had always been there. The world held its breath. Inside the ship, Ambassador stood before a wide window and looked down at the planet below. He was tall and thin, almost 2 meters in height, but he weighed less than a human child. His body was made of something that looked like living crystal. Light passed through him and broke into soft rainbows on the floor. When he moved, he made a sound like glass wind chimes. He had been an ambassador for 300 years. He had visited over 200 worlds. He had seen species of every shape and size, but he had never visited a planet quite like this one. "Show me the data again," he said to his assistant. Pally floated beside him. Pally was small and round, like a ball of blue jelly. He had no arms or legs, but he could change his shape when he needed to. Right now, he stretched part of himself toward a control panel and pressed several buttons. A holographic screen appeared in the air. Numbers and symbols filled the display. "Gravity is 1 standard units," Pally said. His voice was soft and wet like someone talking through water. "Atmospheric pressure is very high. Temperature varies greatly across the surface. There are large bodies of liquid water. The star is stable and yellow." Made a humming sound. "Gravity at 1, that is on the higher end, but the star is calm. The orbit is circular, no extreme radiation." He waved 1 crystalline hand. "Earth is mild, a simple world. The beings here must be equally simple." Pally wobbled nervously. "Ambassador, there are some other readings that concern me. The planet experiences extreme weather events, storms, earthquakes, volcanic activity, and the local life forms seem to be quite aggressive with each other." "All young worlds have such problems," said. He was not worried. He had seen much worse. "The important thing is that Earth meets the basic requirements for Galactic Council membership: a stable star, liquid water, and intelligent life. We will evaluate these humans, complete the paperwork, and return home within 10 rotations." He turned away from the window. "Send the invitation signal. Let us meet these creatures." Far below, in a military base outside Seoul, a young man named Minyu was eating lunch when the alarm started screaming. He dropped his chopsticks and ran. Minyu was 28 years old. He was a lieutenant in the Korean Aerospace Division, which meant he spent most of his time looking at computer screens and writing reports. He had joined the military because he wanted to see the stars. Instead, he saw spreadsheets. But today was different. Today, everyone was running and shouting. Today, the screens showed something impossible. "Is that real?" someone asked. Minyu stared at the image of the massive ship hanging in the sky. His heart was beating so fast he could feel it in his throat. "It is real," said a calm voice behind him. He turned and saw Captain walking toward the main console. She was a small woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She never seemed surprised by anything. Even now, with an alien ship floating above their heads, she looked like she was simply dealing with a minor problem. "They are sending a signal," she said. "They want to talk." The room went silent. "Talk," Minyu repeated. "The aliens want to talk." "That is what I said." Looked at him with those sharp eyes. "And you are going to be the one who talks to them." Minyu felt his stomach drop. "Me? Why me?" "Because you speak 4 languages, you have a calm personality, and you scored highest on the psychological stability tests." She almost smiled. "Also, you were the only one who did not run away when the ship appeared. You ran toward the command center. That shows courage." "That shows I did not know where else to go," Minyu said weakly. But it did not matter what he said. Within 2 hours, he was wearing a special suit and sitting inside a small shuttle. The shuttle lifted off the ground and flew straight up, toward the massive alien ship. Minyu tried to control his breathing. He had trained for many things, but not this. Nobody had trained for this. First contact with alien life was supposed to be something that happened in movies, not in real life. The shuttle approached the ship, and a door opened in its side. Light poured out, soft and golden. The shuttle flew inside and landed gently on a smooth floor. For a long moment, Minyu did not move. Then he took a deep breath, opened the shuttle door, and stepped out. The first thing he noticed was how light everything felt. The air was thin and cool. The gravity was weak, maybe half of what he was used to. He felt like he could jump and touch the ceiling. The second thing he noticed was that the floor was denting beneath his boots. Each step he took left a small mark in the smooth metal surface. That was strange. The third thing he noticed was the alien walking toward him. Moved like flowing water, smooth and graceful. His crystalline body caught the light and scattered it in all directions. He was beautiful in a strange and frightening way. "Welcome to the," said. His voice came from a small device around his neck, translating his words into Korean. "I am ambassador of the Galactic Council. I am here to evaluate your species for membership in our great community of worlds." Minyu bowed politely. "Thank you for the invitation. I am Lieutenant Minyu. I represent the people of Earth." "Excellent," gestured for Minyu to follow him. "Come, we have much to discuss." They walked through long hallways made of the same smooth metal. Minyu noticed that everything around him seemed delicate. The walls were thin. The doors were light. Even the handrails along the corridor looked fragile. He reached out to steady himself and grabbed one of the rails. It crumpled in his hand like paper. Minyu stared at the twisted metal. "I am so sorry. I did not mean to." Turned around. His crystalline face showed no expression, but his body flickered with sudden light. For a moment he said nothing. Then he spoke, his voice careful and slow. How strong are you?" Minyu looked at his hand, then at the ruined handrail, then at the alien ambassador. He had a feeling this was going to be a very long day. Ambassador stared at the crushed handrail for a long time. The metal had bent like soft clay in the human's grip. This was military-grade material. It was designed to survive impacts, explosions, and the stress of space travel. Yet this creature had destroyed it without even trying. "I really am sorry," Minyu said again. He felt terrible. He had been on the ship for less than 5 minutes and he was already breaking things. Captain had told him to be polite and not break anything. He was failing at the second part. Raised one crystalline hand. "It is acceptable, please follow me, but perhaps do not touch anything else." They continued walking through the ship. Minyu kept his hands at his sides and tried to step as lightly as possible. But even so, his boots continued to leave small dents in the floor. The ship creaked softly with each step he took. Crew members appeared in the hallways as they walked. Minyu saw beings of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like floating clouds of gas. Others looked like insects with too many legs. A few looked almost like plants, with green skin and leaves growing from their heads. None of them looked anything like humans. And all of them were staring at him. "Do not mind them," said. "Most of the crew has never seen a species from a high-gravity world before. You are something new." High-gravity world, Minyu was confused. Earth's gravity is normal, it is just one. "For you, perhaps," made a sound that might have been a laugh. "For most species in the galaxy, one is extremely high. The average gravity on member worlds is 0.3 to 0.4. My own has gravity of only 0.2. Minyu thought about this. If these aliens had evolved on worlds with such weak gravity, then everything about their bodies would be different. Their bones would be lighter. Their muscles would be weaker. Their entire civilization would be built for conditions that humans would consider almost weightless. No wonder the handrail had crumpled so easily. It was not designed for someone like him. They entered a large room with a high ceiling. Windows covered one wall, showing the stars outside. In the center of the room was a long table with many chairs. Several aliens were already seated, watching Minyu with expressions he could not read. "Please sit," said, gesturing to a chair. Minyu looked at the chair. It was made of the same light material as everything else on the ship. It looked like it would collapse the moment he touched it. "I think I will stand," he said politely. Nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is wise." Pally floated into the room, his jelly-like body wobbling with each movement. He positioned himself near a control panel and began pressing buttons. Holographic screens appeared around the table, showing images of Earth. "We have been studying your planet," began. "Earth is located in a stable region of space. Your star is calm and provides consistent energy. Your orbit is nearly circular, which gives you regular seasons. By our initial assessment, Earth seemed like a mild and pleasant world." He paused. "However, we are now reconsidering that assessment." Pally brought up new images on the screens. Minyu saw hurricanes spinning over oceans. He saw earthquakes splitting the ground. He saw volcanoes erupting with fire and ash. He saw lightning strikes, floods, and massive waves crashing against coastlines. "Your planet experiences extreme weather events on a regular basis," said. His voice was troubled. "Storms that could destroy entire cities, earthquakes that reshape the land, temperature variations of over 100 degrees between seasons and regions." "Yes," Minyu said, "that is normal for Earth." The aliens at the table exchanged worried looks. Continued. "We also found something disturbing about your biology." New images appeared, showing the inside of a human body. Bones, muscles, organs, blood vessels. Your skeletal structure is incredibly dense. Your muscles are powerful beyond anything we have encountered. Your cardiovascular system operates under pressure that would kill most known species. "Is that unusual?" Minyu asked. "Unusual," Pally made a wet, bubbling sound of disbelief. "It is terrifying. Your body is like a machine designed for survival in extreme conditions. You are built to endure things that would destroy any other intelligent species in the galaxy." Leaned forward. "Tell me, Lieutenant Minyu, on your world do you have predators, creatures that hunt and kill?" "Of course," Minyu said. "Many kinds. Lions, tigers, sharks, wolves, and in the past there were even more dangerous ones. Dinosaurs, giant reptiles that ruled the Earth millions of years ago." The room went very quiet. "And your species survived among such creatures?" asked. "We did more than survive. We became the dominant species. We built cities, developed technology, and spread across the entire planet." Minyu shrugged. "Humans are adaptable. We can live almost anywhere. Deserts, mountains, frozen wastelands, tropical jungles. We even live underwater in submarines and in space on stations." His crystalline body flickered rapidly, a sign of extreme emotion. "You live in space. Your species has already left your planet." "We have been going to space for decades," Minyu said. "We have walked on our moon and sent machines to other planets in our system." A small creature at the end of the table, something that looked like a furry ball with 3 eyes, suddenly stood up and ran out of the room. Minyu heard it making high-pitched sounds as it fled. "Was it something I said?" he asked. "You must understand," said slowly, "most species require thousands of years of careful development before they can leave there. They need help from the Galactic Council. They need technology and resources. But your kind did it alone, on a world that would kill most of us, surrounded by monsters and natural disasters." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was almost a whisper. "What are you?" Minyu did not know how to answer that question. He was just a normal person. He liked simple food and quiet evenings. He had allergies and sometimes got headaches when the weather changed. He was nothing special. At least he had always thought so. But standing here in this room full of fragile alien beings, watching them look at him with fear and wonder in their eyes, he began to understand something important. Humans were not weak. They had never been weak. They had simply never had anything to compare themselves to. A strange tickle formed in the back of his nose. The air on the ship was very dry, and there was a faint dust in the atmosphere. His allergies were starting to act up. He sniffed and rubbed his nose, trying to ignore the sensation. "Are you ill?" asked, noticing the movement. "No, no," Minyu said quickly. "Just allergies. The air is a little dry for me. We can adjust the environmental systems if you need." The tickle grew stronger. Minyu's eyes began to water. He knew what was coming, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. "I am sorry," he managed to say. "I think I am going to sneeze." Tilted his head. "Sneeze? What is a sneeze?" Minyu opened his mouth to explain. And then it happened. The sneeze exploded out of Minyu with the force of a small bomb. It was not a polite sneeze. It was not the kind of quiet, controlled sneeze that people do in libraries or meetings. It was the kind of sneeze that Minyu's grandmother would have scolded him for. The kind that came from deep in his chest and burst out through his nose and mouth with unstoppable power. HFY. The sound echoed through the room like thunder. A wave of air shot forward from Minyu's face, moving faster than anyone could react. It hit the observation window behind Ambassador with tremendous force. For one frozen moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the window cracked. Lines spread across the surface like a spider web, branching out in every direction. The crack grew wider, deeper, spreading from the center to the edges. And then, with a sound like breaking ice, the entire wall shattered into 1,000 pieces. Fragments flew everywhere. Alarms began screaming. Red lights flashed across the ceiling. Emergency force fields activated with a loud hum, sealing the breach before the vacuum of space could claim them all. Minyu stood frozen, his hand still covering his nose and mouth. Around him, chaos erupted. Aliens were screaming, running, crawling, and floating toward the exits. 3 crew members had fainted and lay motionless on the floor. Pally had flattened himself into a thin disk and was hiding under the table. Ambassador stood perfectly still. His crystalline body was covered in fine dust from the destroyed wall. A large piece of debris had lodged itself in his shoulder, though it did not seem to have hurt him. He stared at Minyu with an expression that might have been shock, might have been horror, or might have been something beyond either. The silence that followed was deafening. "I am so sorry," Minyu said, his voice small and embarrassed. "It was just a sneeze. I could not hold it in." Did not respond immediately. His translator device beeped several times, struggling to process what had just happened. Finally, he spoke. "You expelled air from your respiratory system and destroyed a military-grade observation wall." "I did not mean to," Minyu said quickly. "It is a natural reflex. When something irritates our nose, we sneeze. It is supposed to clear out dust and particles. It is completely normal." "Normal?" His voice rose higher. "This ship is designed to withstand asteroid impacts. That wall was constructed from reinforced composite materials. It could survive the heat of a star and the cold of deep space. And you destroyed it by breathing." Minyu did not know what to say. He had never thought of sneezing as dangerous before. Back home, it was just an annoying thing that happened during allergy season. Sometimes he sneezed and scared his cat. Sometimes he sneezed and knocked papers off his desk, but he had never sneezed and destroyed a wall. Then again, he had never been on an alien spaceship before. Pally slowly emerged from under the table. His jelly-like body was trembling violently. "Ambassador," he said, his wet voice shaking, "I am updating our threat assessment of Earth. Please hold." "Threat assessment?" Minyu felt a chill run down his spine. "Wait, you are not going to attack Earth because of this, are you? It was an accident. I did not mean any harm." Held up one hand. "Please, Lieutenant, stay calm. Nobody is going to attack anyone." He looked around at the destroyed room and the unconscious crew members. "We simply need to. Our understanding of your species." A team of repair workers entered the room, moving carefully around Minyu like he was a wild animal. They began cleaning up the debris and checking the emergency systems. One of them scanned the broken wall and made a sound of pure disbelief. "How is this possible?" the worker muttered. "The force required to do this much damage. It would take a small explosion or a high-powered weapon, but he just sneezed." Word of what happened spread through the ship like fire. Within an hour, everyone on the knew about the human who had destroyed a wall with his face. Crew members gathered in hallways, whispering and pointing whenever Minyu walked past. Some looked curious. Most looked terrified. Escorted Minyu to a special room that had been prepared for him. It was small and simple, with thick walls and reinforced floors. Everything inside was bolted down or built to withstand heavy impact. "This is our emergency shelter," explained. "It is the strongest room on the ship. You will stay here until we can arrange transport back to your planet." "I really am sorry about the wall," Minyu said again. He had apologized at least 20 times since the incident, but he still felt terrible. "Please stop apologizing," sounded tired. "I am beginning to understand that you did not intend to cause destruction. Your species simply exists at a level of physical power that is difficult for us to comprehend." Minyu sat down on the reinforced bed. It held his weight without any problems, which was a relief. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "You said earlier that Earth seemed mild to you, that you thought humans would be fragile. Why did you think that?" Was quiet for a moment. Then he moved to a small window and looked out at the stars. "The Galactic Council has evaluated thousands of worlds over millions of years. We have developed systems for predicting what kind of life will evolve in different environments. Stable stars usually produce gentle species. Circular orbits usually produce peaceful civilizations. By all our models, Earth should have created beings who were soft and weak and needed our help to survive." He turned back to face Minyu. "We were very, very wrong." "But we are not monsters," Minyu said softly. "We do not want to hurt anyone. Most humans just want to live peaceful lives. We want to explore, to learn, to meet new friends. That is why I am here." "I believe you." His crystalline body flickered with gentle light. "But you must understand how others will see you. You come from a world of disasters and predators. Your bodies are stronger than any known species. You can survive conditions that would kill us instantly. And apparently, even your involuntary reflexes are dangerous weapons." He paused. "When the Council learns about this, they will be afraid. Fear makes people do foolish things, even wise people, even people who should know better." Minyu thought about this. He thought about human history and all the times that fear had led to conflict. He thought about how his own species had treated those who were different, those who seemed strange or threatening. Were aliens really so different from humans in that way? "Then what should I do?" he asked. "For now, stay here and rest. I will speak with the Council and explain what happened. Perhaps they will listen to reason. Perhaps they will understand that humans are not enemies." Moved toward the door. "And perhaps, Lieutenant Minyu, you should try very hard not to sneeze again." Minyu managed a small smile. "I will do my best." Left and the door sealed shut behind him. Minyu lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. His nose still tickled slightly, but he fought the urge with everything he had. Somewhere on Earth, Captain was probably wondering what was taking so long. She had no idea how complicated things had become. News of the sneeze reached the Galactic Council within 6 hours. By the next morning, every major government in the known galaxy had received the report. The video of the incident spread even faster, shared across communication networks from one end of civilized space to the other. Minyu had become famous, though not in the way he had hoped. The headlines were not kind. "Death World Species Destroys Military Vessel. Human Weapon Disguised as Ambassador. Earth, the planet that creates monsters. News stations across 1,000 worlds showed the footage again and again, sometimes in slow motion, sometimes with dramatic music added. The ambassador called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 12 different species gathered in a new conference room, one that had been specially reinforced overnight. Minyu was invited to attend, though he was asked to stand in a corner and not touch anything. "We must discuss the Earth situation," said, his crystalline voice calm but serious. "The Council is demanding answers. Many are calling for immediate action against the human." "What kind of action?" Minyu asked, his heart suddenly cold. "Nothing violent," assured him quickly. "The Council does not believe in unprovoked warfare, but there are proposals to quarantine your planet, to prevent humans from leaving Earth until further evaluation can be completed. Some believe your species is too dangerous to be allowed into galactic society." A tall, insect-like creature clicked its mandibles. "Can you blame them? We have seen the data. Humans are apex predators from an extreme environment. Their physical capabilities exceed every known species by a significant margin. If they chose to become violent, they could conquer half the galaxy before anyone could stop them." "But we do not want to conquer anyone," Minyu protested. "Humans are curious, not aggressive. We want to explore and discover new things. We want to be friends with other species, not enemies." "Your history suggests otherwise," said a being made of swirling purple gas. "We have studied your past. Wars, conflicts, violence. Your species has spent most of its existence fighting each other." Minyu felt a wave of shame. The alien was not wrong. Human history was filled with bloodshed and cruelty, but that was not the whole story. "Yes, we have fought wars," he admitted. "We have done terrible things to each other, but we have also done wonderful things. We have created art and music and literature. We have built hospitals to heal the sick and schools to educate the young. We have traveled to our moon and sent robots to other planets. We are not perfect, but we are trying to become better." The room was silent. Then a new voice spoke from the doorway. "He is right." Everyone turned. Captain walked into the room, her boots leaving the familiar dented marks on the reinforced floor. She had arrived on a shuttle from Earth just an hour ago, sent by the government to help manage the situation. "How did you get in here?" the insect-like creature demanded. "I walked," said simply. "Your guards tried to stop me, but they were not very effective." Made a sound that might have been a groan. "Did you hurt anyone?" "Of course not. I simply moved them aside." She looked around the room at all the frightened faces. "I am Captain. I am Lieutenant Minyu's commanding officer, and I am here to tell you that you have nothing to fear from humanity." "Nothing to fear," the gas creature swirled angrily. "Your subordinate destroyed a wall by sneezing. You apparently walked through our security teams like they were not there. How can you say we have nothing to fear?" Smiled. It was a small, patient smile, the kind a mother might give to a frightened child. "Because we do not want to hurt you. Yes, humans are strong. Yes, our planet made us tough, but strength does not mean cruelty. Power does not mean violence." She picked up a small object from the table, a decorative crystal that had been placed there as a centerpiece. She held it carefully in her palm, treating it like something precious. "I could crush this with my fingers," she said softly. "It would be easy, but I choose not to. Every day humans make that choice. We have the power to destroy, but we choose to create. We have the strength to conquer, but we choose to cooperate. That is what makes us human." She placed the crystal back on the table, completely unharmed. The room was very quiet. Finally spoke, "What do you propose, Captain?" "Let us prove ourselves," said. "Give humanity a chance to show who we really are. Send observers to Earth. Let them see our cities, our families, our daily lives. Let them see that we are not monsters. We are just people like you, trying to find our place in the universe." The representatives looked at each other. Whispered conversations filled the room. After several minutes, the insect creature spoke again. The Council would need guarantees, safety measures. If humans are to interact with other species, there must be rules. We are willing to follow reasonable rules, Minyu said. We do not want to cause problems, we just want a fair chance. More whispers, more discussion. Finally, raised his hand for silence. I will present your request to the Council. I cannot promise they will agree, but I will speak in your favor. His crystalline body glowed softly. In my long career, I have met many species. Some were kind, some were cruel, some were wise, and some were foolish. But I have never met a species quite like yours. Is that good or bad? Minyu asked. I do not know yet, admitted, but I am curious to find out. The meeting ended. Representatives filed out of the room, still casting nervous glances at the two humans. Minyu and stood alone among the empty chairs. You came all this way just to help me? Minyu asked. I came because Earth needs you to succeed, replied. This is the most important moment in human history. First contact with alien life, membership in a galactic community. Everything depends on how we handle this situation. Minyu nodded slowly, no pressure then. Almost laughed, none at all. She sneezed. It was a smaller sneeze than Minyu's had been, but still powerful by galactic standards. The lighting fixture above the table exploded in a shower of sparks. Glass rained down onto the floor. Emergency systems activated once again. They both stood there in the sudden darkness, surrounded by broken glass and flashing red lights. Oops, said quietly. Minyu sighed. Maybe we should ask them to make everything out of stronger materials. That might be wise. Somewhere in the ship, an alarm was screaming. Footsteps were running toward them. Another day of explanations and apologies was about to begin. But despite everything, Minyu felt a small spark of hope. The galaxy was afraid of them, yes, but it was also curious. And curiosity, he knew, was the beginning of understanding. Maybe, just maybe, things would work out in the end. 3 weeks had passed since the first sneeze heard around the galaxy. The Galactic Council had debated, argued, and discussed the human question for days without rest. Representatives from hundreds of worlds had given their opinions. Scientists had presented data. Military experts had shown simulations. Everyone had something to say about the strange creatures from the death world called Earth. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Humanity would be granted membership in the Galactic Council. But with conditions. Minyu stood in the great hall of the Council headquarters, a massive structure that floated in orbit around a neutral star. The hall was filled with beings from every corner of the galaxy, thousands of different species gathered together for this historic moment. Ambassador stood beside him, his crystalline body glowing with soft light. Captain stood on his other side, her face calm and serious. Behind them, a holographic image of Earth rotated slowly, beautiful and blue. The Council has reached its decision, announced the chief speaker, an ancient creature who looked like a living tree. Her voice echoed through the hall like wind through leaves. Earth and its people are hereby accepted as provisional members of the Galactic Council. They will have all the rights and responsibilities of membership, with certain special considerations. A list appeared on screens throughout the hall. First, the speaker continued, all human visitors to Council space must wear pressure-dampening suits at all times. These suits will reduce the force of their movements to levels that are safe for others. Minyu looked down at the suit he was already wearing. It was bulky and uncomfortable, like being wrapped in thick blankets, but it worked. He had tested it earlier by sneezing into his helmet. The wall had remained intact. Second, all biological functions with the potential for atmospheric disruption, including sneezing, coughing, and exhaling forcefully, must be performed in designated reinforced chambers. Raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Third, Physical contact between humans and members of other species is prohibited without written consent and appropriate protective measures. This includes handshakes, hugs, and any other forms of touching. This rule had been added after Minyu had accidentally fractured his hand during a farewell gesture. The ambassador had been very understanding about it, but the council had insisted on the restriction. Fourth, humans must complete a mandatory education program about galactic customs, fragile species handling, and force awareness before being allowed unrestricted travel. The list continued for several more minutes, covering everything from how humans should open doors to how they should sit in chairs. By the end, Minyu had counted 47 separate rules and restrictions. It was ridiculous, it was excessive, it was also completely fair. Humans were dangerous, even when they did not mean to be. The galaxy needed time to adjust to their presence, and humans needed to learn how to exist in a community where everyone else was made of glass and paper. When the speaker finished reading the rules, she turned to face Minyu directly. "Do you accept these conditions on behalf of your species?" Minyu stepped forward. Every eye in the hall was on him, every sensor pointed in his direction. This was the moment. The words he spoke now would echo through history. "On behalf of Earth and humanity," he said, his voice steady, "I accept these conditions. We are grateful for the trust the Council has placed in us, and we will work hard to prove that we deserve it." Applause filled the hall. It sounded different from human applause, a mix of clicking, humming, whistling, and strange vibrations. But the feeling behind it was the same: acceptance, welcome, hope. After the ceremony, Minyu found himself standing alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. So many stars, so many worlds, so many possibilities. Approached, his crystalline form catching the starlight. "You seem thoughtful." "I am thinking about the future," Minyu said, "about everything that comes next." "What do you see?" Minyu smiled. "I see humans traveling to other planets, meeting new species, learning new things. I see us making friends and allies across the galaxy. I see us sharing our art and music and stories with beings we never imagined could exist." He paused. "But I also see problems, mistakes, misunderstandings. There will be times when humans break things by accident, times when we frighten people without meaning to, times when our strength causes trouble instead of helping." "That is a very honest assessment," said. "Humans have learned over thousands of years that honesty is the best foundation for any relationship. We will not pretend to be something we are not. We are strong. We are loud. We are sometimes clumsy, but we are also kind, curious, and determined to do better." Was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice soft. "When I first came to Earth, I thought your planet was mild. I thought your species would be simple and easy to understand. I was wrong about everything." "Is that bad?" Minyu asked. "No," his body glowed brighter. "It is wonderful. The galaxy has been predictable for millions of years. Species follow patterns. Civilizations rise and fall in familiar ways. Nothing truly new has happened in a very long time. But you humans, you are different. You do not fit any pattern. You cannot be predicted. You are chaos and creativity wrapped in unbreakable bodies." He turned to face Minyu directly. The galaxy needed something new. It needed to be surprised. Perhaps it needed to be a little afraid, too. Fear can be healthy when it makes us think carefully about our choices. "So we are good for the galaxy," Minyu said with a small laugh. "You might be," replied. "Or you might be the most dangerous thing that has ever happened to it. Only time will tell." They stood together in silence, watching the stars spin slowly past the window. 2 days later, Minyu returned to Earth. His shuttle descended through the atmosphere and landed at the same base where his journey had begun. Captain was with him, along with a small team of galactic observers who would begin the process of studying human society. The observers looked nervous but also excited. They were scientists after all, Curiosity was stronger than fear. Minyu stepped out of the shuttle and breathed deeply. Earth air filled his lungs, thick and rich and alive. He had never realized how much he loved the smell of home until he had been away from it. His cat was waiting for him at his apartment. She meowed loudly when he walked through the door, demanding attention and food in that order. "You would not believe my month," he told her, scooping her up in his arms. She purred and bumped her head against his chin. His phone buzzed with a message from Council observers want to study human pets. Please prepare for visitors tomorrow. Minyu sighed. Then he laughed. Then he looked out his window at the night sky, where somewhere far away, a galaxy full of fragile beings was learning to live with the strongest creatures they had ever encountered. "We are going to be fine," he whispered to, "all of us, humans and aliens together. We just need to be patient and kind and careful." Meowed again. She did not care about aliens or galactic councils. She just wanted dinner. Some things, Minyu thought, were the same no matter where you went in the universe. And that was oddly comforting.